seem to be live at the moment, so it's my great pleasure to welcome everybody to this British Malaysian Society webinar. If you're able to hear us from the attendee list, then do let us know where you're joining us from today. I'm sat here in sunny London. Obviously, if you're from somewhere else, in particular Malaysia, then do let us know so we can make a note of that. There's actually the chat function at the bottom, and some people have used that beforehand. And then if you can just let us know that all is well, that will be very good indeed. Yes, we can hear you. Joining from KL, we have here London. We have London coming through. Lena Lee, thank you very much for joining us. Nick from East London, still in London. We have another one here as well, which is great news indeed to see that. Nick Dutton, Buckinghamshire, London. So we're getting lots of people coming through now, 54 here. Dartford, sunny Essex, Penang Island is coming through here, Wiltshire. So thank you very much for sharing. Devon's coming through, South Wimbledon, Warwick, MSA, tuning in from KL. Greetings from Sabas and Albans. It's all happening here. So thank you ever so much for joining us. And of course, Salamat Hari Raya to you all here as we're all together in this informal party. University of Warwick we have here, Coventry. So lots of people coming in. Keep those there. So if you do have some comments, etc., do use the chat facility down there. Again, if there are any issues, then please let us know and we'll do our best to jump on it. Obviously, you can imagine we've got a cast of super experts, talented people here, our first one ever. So if something goes slightly wrong, it's not intentional. No need to wander off and do anything. All will be well. I'm greatly aided today, and I'll just say to my co-host, Carol Still, thank you very much for being on the magician's keyboard with me around here, the off stage, as it were. Now, to get us moving, I would now like very much to invite the chairman of the British Malaysia Society, May Sim Lai, to address us. Over to you, May Sim Lai.
He's muted.
May Sim, you're muted at the moment.
Okay.
Well done. We're on.
Very warm greetings and Salamat Hari Raya. May I welcome you all to the first ever British Malaysian Society virtual event. We are delighted that 77 people have signed up.
Sorry, May Sim, you've gone on mute again. Apologies. Could you just unmute, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
These are certainly unprecedented, challenging, worrying, and uncertain times. We must thank the NHS workers and the frontline workers in the UK, in Malaysia, and elsewhere for the help in saving lives during the pandemic. BMS members have helped in a small way, and you will hear more about this later. Hari Raya, translated, means the grand day of rejoicing. It is about families, and families getting together with friends to celebrate over good food. Unfortunately, BMS is not able to provide any satay or rendang or Malaysian delicacies via a Zoom virtual meeting. However, we have put together a cultural feast for you to enjoy. COVID-19 is making us upgrade our IT skills and certainly our Zooming skills. It is forcing us to think outside the box, and BMS will be doing this to ensure we continue to communicate and engage effectively with our members. I very much hope that you will enjoy our program, and thank you so much for joining us for this party.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Chairman Mason Lai, for those words and welcoming us to this informal party. Excellent. Thank you. May I now invite Zayhan Al-Bakri, co-organizer of this event and lead on culture on BMX Executive Committee. Zayhan is chair of Power. Zayhan, over to you.
Thank you, David and Mason. Selamat Hari Raya, Aidil Fitri, Maaf Zahir dan Batin. So nice that so many of you have joined us today. Last year for Raya, the BMS had an Eid dinner at Satay House. We all sat together in their basement and enjoyed a delicious feast of Raya food. I gave a short talk on how I celebrated Raya growing up in Malaysia. I spoke about the very Malaysian tradition of open houses, where everyone was invited to each other's homes to celebrate all the festivals, not only Raya. This event, in a strange way, is also extending this tradition as we all join together from our own houses to celebrate Raya, a virtual open house. On the BMS executive, as David mentioned, I cover cultural matters, so I was delighted to be able to help organize the cultural side of today's program. So, as Mason said, instead of a feast of rendang and lontong, we have a feast of music, panton, poems, silat, and singing, all with links to Malaysia. We have Karina entertaining us with Malay songs on the accordion, the KL Speakers Club with panton and poetry, followed by Taufik enlightening us on the Malay self-defense of silat, and finally, Stephanie with her rendition of a favorite Malaysian song. Before this, we are starting with a few greetings from some special guests. So I'm handing over back to David. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much for that. A great introduction and telling us all what we're doing. I would now like to invite Martin Barrow, CBE, advisor to the chairman and director of Matheson Limited, Jardine Matheson Group. Martin, over to you, sir.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good, okay. Selamat Hari Raya to you all. Hope you're all having a lovely time. Today my focus is going to be on travel and tourism, a core enthusiasm of mine ever since I walked from UK to Malaysia back in 1962, part of my 2.5 years wandering around the world back to the UK in September '64. I spoke on this at a BMS event, I think at least 10 years ago, and some of you may have heard it before, so I'm not going to repeat that part. But of course, the sector is hugely important to both Malaysia and the UK. I hope some of you saw Michael Portillo's wonderful, was on BBC Two last Saturday. He arrives in Penang or Georgetown on the train and has some great travels around Penang and then off to Ipoh, Cameron Highlands. I think next week he'll be in KL and then further south. So it's a great program which is helping promote Malaysia. Of course, the great news is that in about 18 months' time, that there'll be a direct train from London to KL and on to Singapore. So that'll be a great, maybe we should have a BMS trip on the launch train together in December 2021. I suspect it might get delayed a bit because of what's going on in the world, but it could be a great journey. Of course, travel and tourism has shown fantastic growth over the last 20, 30 years, despite many challenges. Its contribution to economies across the world is often understated by governments, as is the soft power contribution of it in building understanding across the world. Recent crises going back like SARS and terrorist incidents, natural disasters, have all shown that the sector is very resilient and bounces back. And I'm hopeful that this time will be no different. The industry's underlying demand economics of a growing global middle class with financial means to travel despite going on. So COVID, of course, it's a huge challenge. There are some pessimists who are not so optimistic, but what we need is collaboration and teamwork across the world, across governments, with airlines, hotels, retail and travel agents and others, working together in getting the message out that it'll be safe to travel. We don't know exactly when the opening up will be, but hopefully it's coming soon, and we must all work on that. It's also important to understand that the tourism sector links in with education and investment, builds links between countries, and it's hugely important. So we all need to press for things like more visa-free travel, keeping regulations under control. Across the world, most people think domestic travel will be the first focus, but then international travel will follow. I've been traveling all over the world on the new Zoom airlines like I am today. This morning I was in Jakarta and then Beijing on 2 short trips, so keeping very busy with it. And I'm in Tokyo tomorrow, so a lot going on thanks to Zoom Airlines. But let's keep in touch on the travel and tourism sector, and if any of you have got any views, inputs, ideas, don't hesitate to let me know. And I hope we can all be in Malaysia together soon when I can practice my favorite Malay pastime, which is turung padang. Thank you all, and look forward to keeping in touch.
Great, thank you very much, Martin Barrow, for those comments, and really interesting to hear, because I didn't know about it, the Portillo train trips, and your great idea that BMS may actually get on board the first direct train. Probably not the whole way, but something to look at. I would now like to invite Maslina Binti Mohammed, General Manager of Maybank, to say some words. Maslina?
Hi everybody, Selamat Hari Raya, Maaf Zahir and Martin. Okay. Being in London for the last 8 months, definitely, and at the situation of the current situation of COVID, is a totally different thing that I look forward. Total different thing. Is totally different than what we used to, the way we celebrate Hari Raya in Malaysia. But however, it is very interesting that while the lockdown is happening, I still do have this opportunity to share food that we made at home with some friends nearby our area, and also have virtual Zooming with family in Malaysia, celebrating Hari Raya and showing off what they are wearing, what they are cooking over in Malaysia. But I do hope that this Zooming session we will be able to share a portion, but doing things in a different mode to celebrate Hari Raya, and to show what are the Malay cultures, what are the Malaysian cultures that we have when we celebrate Hari Raya. I think that's all from me. Thank you very much, everybody. Let's enjoy this session.
Great, thank you very much. And interesting comments there, obviously, about the UK and Malaysia, and obviously we'll work together to make sure that we can make the best of, obviously, which is a challenging situation at the moment. It's now my great pleasure to invite Harris Danielle, UK EC Chairperson 2019-20. Harris, over to you, sir.
Right. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is safe and healthy in your own homes. I'm from UKEC, which is the student council for all 17,000 Malaysian students in the UK and Ireland. So we are a student body. Also, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce my successor, because I'll be stepping down soon. So in this call, we have the attendee is Mat Kayu, which will replace me in October. So he's the current chairperson-elect. And also Jiawen, who will be working very closely with BMS since she's the head of our careers team. So on behalf of all the students, I would like to wish everyone Selamat Hari Raya, Maaf Zahir dan Batin. Raya for me is all about giving and caring about the people around us. but this year Raya is a bit different, as we all know, because of the pandemic that's going on. But I'm very touched by the generosity of our community to lend a hand to those around us who are in need. So when the pandemic hit UK, a small group of students have reached out to UKC for help. We have some of those who are struggling because they lost their part-time job with all the restaurants and shops closed. Some struggling to make rent, struggling to get groceries, or even more heartbreaking, we have those whose family members are in hospitals because of the coronavirus, and they are unable to return home because of the ridiculously expensive flight tickets. So UKC launched a COVID-19 relief fundraising and to help these students who have reached out to us. So I reached out to a few like corporate members and politicians, and of course one of them is BMS, and Miss Maysim didn't hesitate to help us to get involved and blast out an email to all the BMS corporate members. We managed to raise almost £8,000 to help these students who have been affected by COVID-19. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the donors and British Malaysian society as a whole for your kind hearts and readiness to help those who are in need at desperate times like this. I even have some parents calling me up, tearing up after like I've given them the financial assistance, saying thank you so much. So just know that you've been a big part in helping to relieve the burden of the Malaysian students in the UK who have been affected by the pandemic. On behalf of the students, again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Selamat Hari Raya and enjoy this Raya party. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Harris. Terrific speech, well done. Lots of heartfelt comments in there, so I greatly appreciate that. And obviously, BMS is here to help when appropriate and possible. So great stuff, well done. Thank you very much. It's now my pleasure to invite Professor Kenneth Raja, Centre for Executive and Professional Development, London, to address us. Over to you, Professor.
Well, thank you very much, David. It's such a pleasure to be able to join in this webinar to celebrate a very special day. So let me start off, as we are all in London, well, I am in London at this point, with a more international, a very happy Eid Mubarak to all our Muslim friends and brothers and sisters, as much as the wider membership of BMS, which is of course a much more all-embracing institution. This last 1 month or more has been a very important time of reflection for all of us, and more so for the Muslim community with Ramadan fasting. And it really brings us together with our families and also to engage with those things which are closer to home. And in my case, I re-engaged with my garden. I never knew I had such a big garden. It always looked very small, but once I started working on it, it became a more engaging task. Likewise, I was able to engage with something I had at home, which was the digital environment and Zoom technology and communicating with the rest of the world. And as with this webinar, by coming inwards towards our families and to working out of home, we are also able to engage more extensively, more outwardly. But it is a time of reflection, and it's a very important celebration, not only in Malaysia, but also in the UK, which is a very multiracial community. And I think within the BMS, we have been very lucky to celebrate this. But closer to home, now is the time for celebration. So it's family, it's community. And if anything, the pandemic has given us a touch of family and community. And the thing that I miss most at this particular point is a nice dish of satay and ketupat. And I'm waiting for the shops to open, the restaurants to open, so I can re-engage with the wonderful Malaysian restaurants we have in London. Which leads me on to say, I'm also waiting for businesses to open up so that we can, as a bigger network of Malaysians and British corporates, re-engage with business, perhaps go on to Malaysia before long in a born-again Visit Malaysia year. And I'm hoping very much to join the rest of the delegation visiting Malaysia next. And I hope we open up businesses and jobs and wealth creation in an important, exciting way. But back to Hari Raya, back to the celebration. A very happy Hari Raya to all of you out there, and looking forward to catching up soon with that plate of satay and ketupat. Thank you. Enjoy the day. Bye-bye.
Excellent, terrific, and nice rounded overview as ever, linking together the UK and Malaysia as you do so well. So thank you very much for those comments. We are going to move on now to Dr. Karina Tay, and we're going to have some excellent accordion music, and we're going to be sorting out that in the background, and our heavily expert technicians are prepared for this exciting venture. And whilst we look under the bonnet and make sure everything's working, I'm now going to hand over to Dr. Karina for some words. Over to you, Dr. Karina.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Carol, in the background there. I want to say Selamat Tengah Hari, United Kingdom. Selamat Petang, Malaysia. Nama saya Karina. Saya tinggal di Nottingham, England. Saya bekerja sebagai doktor kanak-kanak di sini. Hari ini, saya ingin mengucapkan selamat Hari Raya Aidilfitri kepada kesemua kawan-kawan, rakan-rakan dan rakyat Malaysia yang meraihkan Eid Mubarak yang berbeza tahun ini. Persembahan saya untuk perayaan hari ini adalah 3 lagu-lagu raya Melayu yang saya ingat sejak kecil. Nikmati, terima kasih. I'm going to do that in English now, Carol. So good afternoon to all attendees here in the United Kingdom, and a very good evening to all in Malaysia. My name is Karina. I live in Nottingham, England, and I work as a paediatrician. The NHS have been working extremely hard over the last 3 months, but it's made downtime even more poignant and more reflective. And my connection back to Malay music's actually got even stronger, even in the pandemic, which is why I'm playing the accordion even more. I would like to wish all my friends, colleagues, and people of Malaysia who are celebrating Eid Mubarak with a difference this year. Selamat Hari Raya Aidilfitri. My childhood memories of Malaysia remain very powerful and emotive, with strong associations to some of Malaysia's best loved folk songs. So here are 3 short tunes for you to enjoy. Many thanks.
Great, thank you. Excellent. That was terrific, Dr. Karina. That's fantastic in terms of your engagement with that, and obviously finding some activity to keep you busy and adding to your skill base. Do you want to just make some comments about what we're going to hear next, please?
Well, these are just songs, like I said, from being when I was a child, and like going to a lot of the parties in friends' houses. And I, like everybody else who've mentioned, food is a big thing in Malaysia, and I thoroughly miss it. And it's a shame that Zoom, can provide the technology for connectivity globally, but not quite the food. I can't wait for the restaurants to open again, especially all the Malaysian restaurants and all the food. So there we go. But because of all that, you know, my memories are just really, really powerful. And the other thing that's been really powerful is because having been brought up in Malaysia, Malay educated, taking part in a lot of the Merdeka celebrations on the 31st of August, playing in the Padang as part of an angklung band as a child. This is where I've learned a lot of the folk songs, actually. That's the connectivity.
Terrific. Thanks very much. Carol, over to you.
Well, this one is a medley of Mak Inang and Kapu Sirih.
Terrific, excellent, very well done. I'm sure we all enjoyed that. There's lots of comments here in the chat about how evocative that was, and obviously skillful. And we look forward to your future performances, of course.
Thank you.
Excellent, no, very, very well done indeed. We're now going to move over to Pantun and poetry, reading by the Kuala Lumpur Speakers Club in London. And my super co-magician, Carol, is still back on duty here, getting us ready for the slides to share with you. So when you're ready, Carol, and then Zehan can come in to lead us through this particular section. Carol. Thank you.
Hi, am I on now?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. That was fantastic, Corina. You certainly got us in the mood for this lovely Raya occasion. So I hope everyone joining in is in their baju Raya. I certainly put on my kabaya, so to get him into the mood. I'm now going to introduce the Kuala Lumpur Speakers Club. The Kuala Lumpur Speakers Club was founded in Malaysia in 1970 with the objective of organizing lessons and training in public speaking and to promote goodwill amongst women of all nations. With the blessing of the President, Tunku Dara Nakia, the Kuala Lumpur Speakers Club in London was formed in 2002 by members who had returned to England. I had the great honor of joining the Kuala Lumpur Speakers Club here in London a few years ago. We keep in close contact with the KL Club and were greatly saddened to hear of the death last year of Sheila Joseph, one of the club's respected course instructors. So today we have selected a short program of pantons and poetry in her honor. And I now would like to introduce you to Elizabeth St. Clair George, the chairman. Thank you.
Hello, thank you, Zehan. I'd like to start by saying Selamat Hari Raya to everybody and tell you a little bit about ourselves here before we start. Now, we are a little group bound together by a host of good memories, but most of all by the course we all did in KL. But our small group has been going strong here in England for 18 years. Some of us remember Sheila very well. She served as instructor of the Kuala Lumpur Speakers Club for 5 years, and she was a wonderful instructor. And together we started the very successful program of poetry readings, which have become a stalwart of the club in KL, and we also attempt to do things like that here. Sheila was a great raconteur with a keen sense of humour, but above all, she was a good friend to many of us. Now, earlier this year, together with PAWA and the Malaysian High Commission, we were due to present a program of pantons, poems, song and dance in celebration of Sheila's life, and also to raise funds for the education of teenage girls, a cause which was very close to her heart. Sadly, COVID reared its ugly head and our program is now on hold. So we were really pleased to be invited to share a selection of some reflective poems and pantons from this program, and to be able to do so at your virtual Hari Raya party. So I'd now like to welcome Sally, who's going to read our first poem.
The first poem is entitled Malaysia and is by C.J. Krieger. The gentle breezes danced on the tip of the harbour waves as I watched the village huts fade along the Malaysian shoreline. All of the fishermen in their longboats followed, until all that was left was the syncopated beating of oars striking the sea, in tempo to some old chant I'd heard them sing many, many times before. It's been over 30 years since I've seen Malaysia and the sunburnt faces of the children playing on the white, sandy beaches. But when the summer sun beats hot over the land, casting long, long shadows into the deep green forests, I can still feel Malaysia rippling over me like a cool sea breeze, carrying the memories of standing on the bow of an old clipper ship, watching the village huts fade along the Malaysian shoreline. Now join me in welcoming Zehan Al-Bakri.
The Malay Panton. The Panton is the broad-based heritage of the Malays and was used whenever the mood suited them. It could be traded in friendly banter among friends or used to express delicate emotions and sentiment on issues not usually discussed openly and directly. The words used are usually common everyday words, and they're traditionally composed and recited on the spur of the moment or whenever the situation calls for it. They were never written down, but the very good and catchy ones recited in public would be repeated, spread around, and have become famous. Anyone can do it, wherever, whenever. That's the beauty of the pantun. Di mana tempat matahari jatuh? Di balik penyengat di ujung laut. Di mana tempat bahasa tumbuh? Di ujung kalam di tubir mulut. Now let us welcome Judy Moody Stewart.
Right. The Panton was often used to express romantic feelings and love, and also used on formal occasions such as wedding proposals. Love inspired the composers. These are the biggest group of Panton around. Now, we'll start with Love's Commencement. Dari mana punai melayang, dari paya turun ke padi, dari mana datang sayang, dari mata turun ke hati. And we follow that with the enchantment of smiles. Burung pipit terbang ke bukit tempat, orang menama pala. Pipi tersenyum, kening diangkat, bagaimana saha. And now I hand on to Liz Davis.
It was.
Okay, Liz, all good, ready for you?
Ready. It was a wondrous sight by Malachy Edwin. It was a wondrous sight, a sight for national unity watchers. He eating fried mee with chopsticks, and she nasi lemak with fingers. The young man skillfully maneuvered the chopsticks without letting slip a strand. The young woman expertly coordinated her hands and mouth, getting every grain in. The meal almost over, they make plans to tell their parents. Now let's go back to Liz Sinclair George.
Thank you, Liz. I'm going to recite for you the poem called Listening to the Punjabi Singer by Shirley Gyoklin Lim. Her Urdu voice raises in the performance room. I could have been married for 20 years to the man she's singing for. The beloved who does not return her love and vanishes forever. Always suffering, Asia. I yearn to be her this evening, suffused securely my own woman. I play at nostalgia. Imagine, eyes closed. Malaysia now, as if 20 years have passed and nothing's died. Not the dream of marriage, of one brown family and nation. From the back of the room, middle age spins fantasy and regret. Singles the concrete bungalow in Petaling Jaya, one of thousands of a race, Malay, Chinese, Indian, and Eurasian, hardened in the same shelter, if not the same skin. Now to finish, I'm going to hand it back to Zehan, who's going to do our last pantun.
Thank you, Liz. Forget me not. Laju, laju, perahu laju. Lajunya sampai ke Surabaya. Lupa kain, lupa baju. Tapi jangan lupakan saya.
Speed, speed, swift boat upon your way. The pace for Surabaya's set. Forget your coat, or wrap you may. But us, I pray, do not forget. Selamat Hari Raya to you all. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you ever so much from the Kuala Lumpur Speakers Club here in London. Lots of positive comments there in the chat. Now you've got some time to have a look at those. Thank you indeed for that. And indeed, thank you, Carol, for your magic behind the scenes. I'd now like to invite Tawfiq Wan, Silat Talk and Demonstration, UK instructor of Silat and journalist with Al Arabi Al Jadid. Over to you, sir.
Hello, hi, Selamat Hari Raya, everybody. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you to the organizers for inviting me today to speak about Silat. This Hari Raya has been a very different one for everybody, for myself included. Usually we'd be invited to perform Silat in different places, me and my Silat group, but this year we have to do things online and try things a bit differently. I myself, I grew up in London, and in search of perhaps we could say my roots, I went back to Malaysia to learn Silat, and I've been learning Silat for over 10 years now. And in my journey in this martial art, I was eventually given permission to teach, and so currently I'm teaching Silat in London, trying to promote the art and bring it to different cultures and different people from different backgrounds. Most of you will be familiar with Silat, those of you from Malaysia who have lived in Malaysia. But for those of you who are not, Silat is a Malay martial art which has combative elements as well as expressive elements, and also has a lot of rhythmic movement. It's a very all-encompassing martial art. And from what I learned when I went to Malaysia, and the thing that really attracted me to Silat when I went back was when my teacher said to me that Silat itself is a physical expression of Malay culture. Everything in the Silat, from the combat movements to the expressive side, as well as the etiquettes between the student and the teachers, the student and his community, it all incorporates Malay culture in there. So this is what really drew me to it. And for me to be able to share this, not just with the wider community here in London and the UK, but with Malay people, Malaysian people who grew up here like myself, to reconnect them with something that perhaps, you know, has that echoes with them, that they can relate to somewhere deep down. So a bit about what I'll be showing today. Usually our Silat performances outside in the public, you can imagine somewhere, let's say in an open field, or let's say in Malaysia, in somewhere in a kampong, in a communal area, you would have people gathered around. You know, unfortunately we can't do this now because of the coronavirus pandemic, but you would have everybody gathered around to see people standing before you performing Silat. Because Silat's really an art that needs to be appreciated in person, to see the full spectrum of moves and directions of the Silat practitioner, because the art is something that doesn't just move in straight lines or circles, it has all kinds of movements. It's really a celebration of the human ability to do different things and to express in different ways with your body. So the Silat performance that will be shown is 2 minutes, and there's a reason why we do everything in 2 minutes in my particular style, which is Silat Gayung. We limit it to 2 minutes so that in those 2 minutes, an exponent of Silat can show if they have understood everything from the expressive movements which express something from within the Silat practitioner. So you really have to feel that, and there has to be a connection with the audience. You have to understand what the person is trying to say without them saying anything really, just through their movement, the expression on their face, the different intricacies of how they move. And then also in there will be the combative elements. You can see, has the person learned how to move? And then the final thing is we have some acrobatics, so there's expressive, combative, and acrobatic movements in there. So the piece that will be shown, it begins with the short pantun. And the pantun, just in summary, it is about the spread of Silat Gayung and how Silat Gayung before I say that, Silat Gayung, just as a background, was Malaysia's first Silat organization that was registered after the war. Prior to the Second World War, it was something that was taught to villages while under the British administration. And during the Japanese occupation, was also taught to people who were resisting. And so this was something that really brought people together. And when it was registered as Malaysia's first Silat organization, it then grew to become the largest. But as it grew, the organization eventually broke up and split into smaller groups. So the pantun is kind of like a lament to this, and is saying that as you know, Silat Gayung has spread, but eventually one day it will come together. And from my understanding, as somebody teaching Silat here in London, I see myself as part of this process. You know, I'm teaching silat here with hopefully with the idea that it will become big and we can bring it back to Malaysia and join up with the people who are doing it there to have a kind of unity and to, you know, to bring up this martial art. So without saying much more, I'll pass it on to the video.
Great, thank you very much. Carol, magician, are you ready? Excellent. Thank you very much for the introduction there, the explanation. Very good, terrific video, and I'm sure all the team here at BMS will have a massive sigh of relief that the video worked and we got the music on, because that was something that we were doing a lot of work on behind the scenes. So well done, Carol, well done, Tawfiq, well done, everybody, and whew, so that's good. Okay, well let's move on, and I would now like very much to invite Aliza Hashim Doyle, Chair of Mercy Malaysia UK, to give us an update on BMS help with COVID-19. Aliza. You're on mute, Aliza, at the moment. Still on mute. You're still on mute, Aliza. Yes, you're fine now.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, all good.
Yes, okay. Selamat Hari Raya, everybody. Thank you, BMS, for doing this. This is great. Earlier, you've heard from Haris UKEC how BMS has helped during the COVID-19 pandemic, how BMS individual members and also the society itself help to donate to us different charities. One of them is Mercy Malaysia UK, and I am, as the chairperson, really grateful for the donation. What we did was a COVID-19 PPE appeal, where we fund Mercy Malaysia fundraise, and from the donation we help to source PPE items such as the gowns, the masks, the gloves, the face shields. We source them from London, from Kuala Lumpur, from China even. So we are working together with the Malaysian doctors based in the UK, but the items are not just for the Malaysian doctors, but for the frontliners for UK hospitals. So we had 2 consignments arrive from Malaysia, from mass cargo, and tomorrow I'm collecting another consignment of a few thousand N95 masks from China that arrived from Luxembourg today. So they arrived in London today, rather. And we have been delivering them to 5 hospitals, 5 health care practices, 2 care homes networks, and we have 8 other hospitals to deliver to. So this is such a fantastic help from BMS. And I must also say there is another charity that BMS helped, which is a group of fishermen in Bersarah in Pahang, and also a group of single moms and minority community, such as the LGBT community in Kuantan in Pahang. So, you know, we are extremely grateful. Well done, BMS, for helping us.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that excellent description of the ongoing situation and all the collaboration. And obviously it's great when we all pull together. So thank you very much for those comments, Heliza. It's now my great pleasure to welcome Stephanie van Driesen, award-winning international singer, actress and founder and CEO of SFA Stagecrafts. Stephanie van Driesen will sing "To Know Malaysia is to Love Malaysia." Stephanie, over to you.
Thank you so much, David. And it is my absolute pleasure now to be part of this. Can you hear me? Is everyone?
Yes, all good.
Lovely. Okay, so here we go. And just wanted to say I put my own spin on this today so everyone can enjoy. And I hope it brings back lovely memories and also feelings of inspiration during this time of our Hari Raya lockdown. So here we go.
To know Malaysia is to love Malaysia. People smiling everywhere, showing you how much they care. To know Malaysia is to love Malaysia. It's true. Getaran jiwa melanda hatiku, tersusun nada irama dan lagu. Walau hanya sederhana, tapi tak mengapa. Moga dapat membangkitkan sedarlah kamu, wahai insan. Tak mungkin hilang irama dan lagu, bagaikan kembang sentiasa bermadu. Walau dipisah lagu dan irama, lemah tiada berjiwa, hampa. This land so beautiful, it will steal your heart away. This land is paradise, and it's only a smile away. To know Malaysia is to love Malaysia. In this land where dreams come true, Malaysia welcomes you. To know Malaysia is to love Malaysia. It's true, it's true, it's true. Selamat Hari Raya, everyone.
have a great time. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
Excellent as ever, Stephanie. Terrific. Well done. Always a pleasure to have your company and obviously to listen to you. So thank you ever so much for that. It's now my great pleasure to invite BMS President Sir Mark Moody-Stewart to address us. Sir Mark. Just on mute at the moment, Sir Mark.
Okay.
Selamat Hari Raya, everyone. What a fantastic celebration under unique lockdown conditions of a celebration of Hari Raya. A mixture of Malaysia, Zoom, the UK, and ingenuity. Really terrific. We've had music, poetry, pantoons, silat in remarkable English countryside conditions, just lovely. Songs, examples of charity and support for others at this time of Malaysian students and also Mercy Malaysia in the true spirit of Hari Raya and the Eid. I think it's been just a fantastic celebration, and congratulations. Maysim, thank you very much as Chairman, Maysim Lai, for organizing it. Amazing days of practice and drilling. And then our two expert coordinators, David Stringer-Lamar and Carol Still, who've managed to keep it all together. David, in joining us to be sure that we were on time. And if I look, I think you've hit it more or less 60 minutes precisely, David. So thank you all very much. Really terrific. And we look forward to seeing you in the flesh. And as Corinna said, the only thing missing is Malaysian food. Zoom hasn't quite cracked that yet. So thank you all very much. And again, Selamat Hari Raya. And back to you, David.
Thank you very much, President. Thank you very much for those words. And thanking the team, and I can tell you on behalf of Carol and I and the wider team, we're glad it's nearly all over, because I've certainly aged quite a bit, and we're nearly there. It's now for the closing comments, etc., from our distinguished Chairman, Maysim Lai, OBE DL. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you, Sir Mark, for your comments. Just a few words to say about what we have coming up. We have on the 29th of June our AGM, and then on the 20th of July, we have a webinar session with Professor Phil Cleaver, who is a multi-award winning graphic designer, who is going to be talking to us about the book that he has written on what they don't teach you at design school. So Phil is a professor at Middlesex University, and he is also just been made a professor at USM in Penang. So that's the events coming up. We're open to ideas. If you've got some ideas that you'd like us to consider to do on Zoom. And then finally, we are always looking for new members. So it's very easy. Just go on the BMS website. It will take you 5 minutes or so to sign up. So thank you all very much again for attending. And thank you to everyone who contributed to this first ever BMS virtual event. Selamat Hari Raya.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Chairman Maysim Lai. On behalf of everybody here, thank you to all the performers. Thank you to everybody who spoke. Thank you to the great organisation what BMS is. And of course, thank you all for attending. Selamat Hari Raya, and goodbye for the moment. Goodbye now.
Bye. Selamat Hari Raya.